In a globalised economy, there are greater opportunities to export and import products. But in doing this, you need to consider what can happen when you sell or buy in a currency other than your own functional currency. Fluctuations in foreign exchange rates will affect you differently depending on whether you are importing, that is buying from overseas, or exporting, that is selling overseas. The impact will also differ depending on whether prices are quoted in your functional currency or a foreign currency. A key point to remember is that as soon as the transaction occurs in your functional currency, there are no changes to the amount of your functional currency you receive or pay. However, note that foreign exchange risk can still exist in this situation, as your overseas customers or suppliers now bear the risk of price fluctuations, and this can lead to lower or higher demand, depending on the movement of the respective currencies. Consider an Australian company who exports wool to China in US dollars. In this case, the Australian company benefits if the US dollar strengthens and the Australian dollar weakens. This is because a stronger US dollar will mean more Australian dollars will be received when the transaction takes place. But let's now consider an Australian company who imports homeware products from China with purchases transacted in US dollars. In this case, the Australian company benefits if the US dollar weakens and the Australian dollar strengthens. This is because a weaker US dollar will mean less Australian dollars will be required to pay for the purchase. We've just gone through examples of foreign exchange risk. In particular, these examples demonstrate one of the main types of foreign exchange risk exposure, and that is transaction exposure, which comes about through normal operational activities, such as selling products or making purchases. With foreign exchange risk, there are also two other main categories of exposure. Translation exposure, that is fluctuations in the values of assets or liabilities, such as a net investment in a foreign entity, and also competitive or economic exposure, that is exposure as a result of adopting a different approach to foreign exchange risk compared to your competitors. A key export of Australia is iron ore. In recent years, the demand for this from China has been extremely high because iron ore is a primary component in steelmaking. But this demand is now slowing. Iron ore is a commodity, and therefore companies producing and selling iron ore are susceptible to fluctuations in the price, which is largely driven by supply and demand. A commodity is a raw material, basic good, or primary agricultural product. The key thing is that it is interchangeable with other commodities of the same type and grade. Thinking about iron ore produced by one company will essentially be the same as iron ore produced by any other company. So if the demand for iron ore in China is dropping, what can we expect this to do to iron ore prices? And what effect will this have on our Australian iron ore exporter? If prices drop, so too will sales revenues. But costs to produce will not necessarily drop. This can have a significant impact on profitability. Let's think about this further down the supply chain. If a company in China is importing iron ore for steelmaking and the prices drop, what effect will this have on the Chinese company? When the commodity is used as an input and prices drop, this is beneficial for the company purchasing the commodity, in this case our Chinese steelmaker. These are examples of commodity price risk.